And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today. Welcome back to Fanboy Fridays, and we have a good video for you today. But before we get into it, fanboys, we hope your day is going completely horrible. And we mean it from the bottom of my heart. And on behalf of all real basketball fans, I think I can say that. So Michael Jordan talks about staying on top. Now, we all know that Michael Jordan was 6-0 in the finals, which is a remarkable show of dominance over the league during that time. And I think what gives it another edge is the fact that he never went to a game 7. But again, when people say this, I think it is very much taken for granted. People attribute that. Well, number one, Michael Jordan is taken for granted, just for what he had to do to stay on top, what he had to do to become the best. I believe, those of us who grew up during that era, at some point it just became, this is what you expected of Michael Jordan. LeBron James fans, you guys will never know anything about that. You don't expect that from your king. What you expect is losses and excuse for said losses, which you guys willingly accept and provide for your king. But you guys have no idea what it's like to expect winning from a player over and over again. You guys have no idea what it's like to expect your favorite player to constantly come through in close situations, to be clutch. You guys don't have any idea what it's like to expect that. You guys just have hopes and wishes, the same way that your king hopes that someday, through the constant bullying and false narratives, that maybe, just maybe, he'll convince enough people that he's as great as he says he is. But Michael Jordan, like I said, if you grew up back in that time, you began to take for granted. You began to expect things from Michael Jordan because we saw him do it over and over again. Because he did deliver in the clutch so often. Because once he got to the top of the mountain, no one dethroned him, and we expected him to be able to stay there. And so that is an amazingly hard feat. And that feat in itself, like I said, I think people is a very underrated thing, and people just say it like, 6-0 in the finals, never allowing a game 7. 6-0 in the finals, never allowing a game 7. Yes, we all know that, but I think it's putting a proper respect on what that really represents. So in this article coming from Basketball Network, Michael Jordan is going to talk about staying on top. And so it says, and I'm actually skipping the first part of this article, but we're going to start here. It says, what's next after becoming the best? Fanboys, you guys, your king wouldn't know anything about that. It says, this is exactly the situation that Michael Jordan experienced. The legendary Chicago Bulls guard wasted no time putting the league on notice right from the gates. With his insatiable desire for victory and competition, the third pick of the 1984 NBA draft quickly ascended to the very top of the food chain. But what happens when you're at the top? Who do you chase, and how do you hold on to that position? Staying at the top and maintaining the same level of hunger throughout that time was just what MJ described as one of the hardest parts of his professional career. Quote, myself. Mike quickly responded when asked about the favorite guy to go up against. Quote, it's because a lot of the times I had to battle with myself to keep challenging myself. When you get to a certain pinnacle, you've You've got to find some ways to keep going out there and playing 82 games, playing the Clippers or Lakers or whoever, and keep them on the same pedestal. That to me is why I would say my biggest battle was myself. On this channel, to me, we talk about the things that lead to success. And in this case, we're talking about the things that can keep you in a position of success. And that is maintaining that hunger even after you have achieved success. This is where I think it's hardest for most people to do. It's hard. I mean, like, if you think about music, to me, for those who follow my channel, you know that I'm a musician, and you know, I've done music my whole life. But if we're talking about music, something that everybody can relate to, if you think about most artists who reach a certain level of success, like they'd have that hit record that's like a breakthrough, and then after they have that hit record that you know, shoots them to stardom, you can count on them for about 1 to 2 more albums before they start to fall off. And that's because, you know, it's like you have that hunger to get successful. So that's usually when you do your best writing. And then once you hit that level of success where everybody knows you and you're on top of the mountain, and now then you're inspired by the success that you're currently going through. So the next album is usually pretty good, the next 1 or 2 albums. But once you get used to the success, that hunger leaves. And this is why so many artists fall off. I would argue this is why you have so many one-hit wonders. So many artists that are capable of giving you one good album and then they fall off. Because once you have broken through and have achieved this thing that you've been trying to get, it is very hard to maintain that same hunger. But Michael Jordan talks about the hardest thing is to keep challenging yourself, to go out and play 82 games, which is funny because LeBron James has only played 82 games once in his career, which means that he's never really challenged himself to go out and play 82 games. I guess he did this year, and we see that did not last long, as he has already broken it, and it is already being talked about that he probably will not play in tonight's game as well. So that ability to challenge yourself, to me, is another difference between LeBron James and the rest of the greats. But especially Michael Jordan. Is that Michael Jordan is aware enough to understand that once you get to the top, some of the hunger leaves, and he's aware enough to understand that he has to figure out a way to keep igniting himself with challenges. You know, I would argue in the 1998 season, this is the season that a lot of people were questioning whether the Bulls would actually be able to beat the Jazz. And partly is because the Bulls were, as a team, visibly showing signs of age. We know Pippen had the injuries. Rodman wasn't what he was. You can see Ron Harper losing some steam. And Michael Jordan himself was somewhat slowing down. But I would argue that the challenge for Michael Jordan was to say, hey, okay, yeah, we're all old. Matter of fact, he said this in the interview. It might have been in The Last Dance. He said, you know, everybody's saying we're old, but I think in the end, the team that they're saying is old is going to prove that we were young in the mind. So I would argue that he took that as a challenge to say, okay, can we overcome this age thing? Can we overcome the injuries and be focused enough as a team? You know, can I overcome the fact that my teammates are on the decline and I may have to carry more of the load? Because in 1998 finals, Michael Jordan did carry the majority of the load. I would say that more than any other championship that he had won. So this was a personal challenge for Michael Jordan to do that. And all the stories that we hear about Michael Jordan, about him making up stuff that other players said things about him, I believe all of these things were nothing more than ways for him to keep motivating himself. All the perceived slights, like what's the coach of the Seattle Supersonics? Carl. The name is slipping me at the moment, but saying that he saw him in a restaurant and he didn't speak to him before the finals, so that, you know, he took that personally, you know. But all of these things were really just ways for Michael Jordan to keep finding that motivation, that energy to go out there and prove something, to go out there and give his 100% best, to go out there and still maintain that edge. And like I said, to me, this is, when you look at this is the exact opposite of how LeBron James operates. Yes, fanboys, it's Fanboy Friday. So of course we're going to talk about how your king doesn't measure up to this kind of standard. LeBron James did not challenge himself. This is why the moment LeBron James left Cleveland, he squandered any opportunity to be looked at in the same light as Michael Jordan. And he's tried every kind of false narrative that you can possibly try to do it another way. But again, you can't fool the consumer, you know. But when he left Cleveland, he showed that he's not willing to challenge himself. When he left Cleveland, and instead of challenging himself and staying in Cleveland and saying, hey, you know, even if they don't get me better teammates, which I would argue with that if LeBron James was a better leader, he had a good enough team in Cleveland to win championships if he was that same kind of leader that Michael Jordan was. But if LeBron James was challenging himself, then he would have said, hey, even if they don't get me the players that I think I should have, then that just means I have to get better and better each year. I have to challenge myself to see, can I get good enough to lead whatever teammates I have to a championship? Because there's no reason that playing year after year with LeBron James that his teammates shouldn't be getting better and better as well. The only way that's not going to happen is if LeBron James is not leading them to do that. And when I mean leading, I mean by any means necessary. I mean by calling them out. I mean by holding them accountable. You know, to me, like LeBron James fanboys always bring up Boobie Gibson, you know, and make, to me, Boobie Gibson could have very much been a B.J. Armstrong type of player to LeBron James. You know, to me, Boobie Gibson could have been to LeBron James what B.J. Armstrong was to Michael Jordan. If you go look at the numbers, they got very similar numbers. I think they had a similar game to me. But again, the difference is the leadership. The difference is the leadership of Michael Jordan bringing the very best out of B.J. Armstrong, and LeBron James not being able to do that for Boobie Gibson. So everything that has happened in LeBron James' career is a result of him not being willing to take on the challenge. And he showed how much he is the complete opposite of Michael Jordan when he went and joined Miami. That is the complete opposite of challenging yourself. Is to go join two of the top 10 players in the league at the time. That is the complete opposite of challenging yourself. So if that is your mentality, to not challenge yourself, how could you ever get put in the same sentence with Michael Jordan? Now, this is also why LeBron James has never been part of a dynasty. Again, because it is very hard to get to the top and stay at the top. That takes a different level of mental capacity. Again, that takes you challenging yourself, but it all ties together with LeBron James. Everything ties together into this mentality. The fact that he's only played 82 games once in his career shows you where his priority is. Like, I can understand if you didn't play it. Well, no, LeBron James has played 22 years. There is no rhyme or reason why he shouldn't have played at least 9 times like Michael Jordan did, and not after playing 22 years. But I can understand, if most of your career you weren't able to play all 82 games. I can sort of understand that, but to only have played it once in 22 years, that shows you where your priorities are. That shows you that LeBron James' mind is not on excellence, that LeBron James' mind is not on obligation to the game and to the fans. That shows you that just in that alone, just in the fact that he has only played 82 games one time in 22 years when he makes millions of dollars to play basketball. That is his job. LeBron James fanboys, do you agree that playing basketball and getting paid for it is a job? If you do agree that it is your job, then that means you should be in attendance to the job. The fact that LeBron James has only played one time, 82 games in 22 years, shows you where his priorities are. And that is not with feeling a sense of obligation to the game and to the fans. And that right there is already a problem. That is not showing that he is challenging himself to go out here and play 82 games every season. That should be the challenge. But it's one or the other. Either you're the type of person who challenges yourself so that you can overcome things, or you are not. And LeBron James is not that kind of person. This is why LeBron James has never been part of a dynasty. This is why LeBron James can never be on the level of a Michael Jordan. Ever. Never has been. And at this point, I mean, he's really going the opposite direction. I mean, let's just be honest. However close anyone think he may have gotten to Michael Jordan, at this point, he is actually going the opposite direction. But yeah, unless you're the kind of person who challenges yourself, you can't become a part of a dynasty. Like he went to Miami to have a leg up on the competition, and he couldn't even stay there because D Wade was on the decline. Like, according to Rich Paul, is so he could go back to Cleveland and bring one to Cleveland. I have a hard time believing that was the biggest motivation. I think it was because D Wade was on the decline. And unlike Michael Jordan in 1988, when Scottie Pippen and Rodman and Ron Harper was on the decline, LeBron James did not think he had it in himself to actually carry the team to victory. Because despite LeBron James' constant self-praising, saying he's the GOAT, talking about his high IQ, talking about the fact that he always makes the right play, we all know that all of these things are just a sign of insecurity, and LeBron James does not truly believe these things. You can't believe these things if you are constantly begging for more help. You cannot believe that you are as good as you say you are if you are constantly begging for help. There is no way that you can actually believe that you're the GOAT. You actually believe that you want to be the GOAT. I have no doubt that LeBron James, for the sake of praise, for the sake of the adoration, would love to be viewed as the GOAT by everybody for his own ego. I have no doubt about that, is that he desperately wants to be the GOAT, but inside there is no way he believes he's the GOAT. No one who actually believes they are the best person to ever touch a basketball would constantly think that they need help. Happy Fanboy Fridays to you fanboys. I know it hurts. I know it hurts to hear that about your king. But again, we're here for it. Nothing brings me more joy than breaking the hard, cold truth to you guys. And, I love it. Because you can't escape it. And deep down inside, just like LeBron James knows he's not the GOAT, you fanboys know he's not the GOAT. But because, again, if you actually thought LeBron James was the GOAT, you wouldn't waste time in my comments trying to convince me. You wouldn't have to convince me. Just like if you know 2 + 2 is 4, you're not going to stand there and argue with someone who keeps saying 2 + 2 is 5. Again, you don't find me on LeBron James fan channels, some of these fanboys who got YouTube pages, so that they can do nothing but spread false narratives and make excuses for your king as well. You don't find me in their comments trying to convince them otherwise. Why would I do that? But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What did you think of what Michael Jordan had to say about staying on top, about challenging himself? You know what I'm saying that his greatest competition that he has to face basically is himself, and that is because he has to constantly find ways to challenge himself in order to stay on top, in order to keep that hunger burning. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly, truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.